Welcome back to the Dynasty Grind. My name is Peter Howard at PA Howdy. Why was I pointing over there? Seriously, I start these things with the intention to do a good introduction, and then I'm like, hey, look over. Welcome back to the Dynasty Grind. My name is Peter Howard at PA Howdy on Twitter and Threads and everywhere else you need that kind of app for. We do a live show every Wednesday, 9:30, till we run out of questions or get tired or bored, perhaps, about Dynasty Fantasy Football and anything else related to it. Drop whatever questions, comments, or thoughts you may have about those subjects, preferably in whatever comment box, whatever streaming platform you're watching us on. Yeah, we got to get to it because I was late and Russ has got to go somewhere, so let's do that. How's it going, guys?
Yeah, Pete. Yeah, it's here. We are.
We're going.
Is it going that great? Nice. The injuries are piling up this year. Well, you know, evergreen, like you said, Zach. But
it feels. I mean, like every
it's getting
2
a little
or 3
excessive.
years, we get like big injuries to big players. So it's like it's the same amount, but like not every year does Nick Chubb and Justin Jefferson and Anthony Richardson go out.
Devin
I
A-Chain.
mean, it's like Snake One and CMC, or
Like-
Kamara when he was Kamara and CMC, you know, whatever.
But like on the Trade Addicts last night, I was just like, and you know what? I'm not even going to talk about the injuries because it's too long, it's too much, and I don't want to cry.
I've given up talking about Mac Jones. I've said it. I'm done here. And that's the one I've given up talking about.
I heard that today. It made me laugh.
Yeah. Mr. Mole in the chat at 7:42. Thank you. Evening, 1-5 record and looking to get points off my team. Good job. Give DKT and T. Higgins and a first for Jefferson.
I would.
I mean, that's heavy, but that's a lot. I think it should be one of those and a first is probably Jefferson.
No,
but
because it's the 110, sure. That makes it a lot harder. But
that's true.
I want something back. That feels like a lot. Like, do you do it? Yeah, probably, because it's Justin Jefferson. But also, like, you're gonna Justin Jefferson. I'm crossing my fingers. Is not just gonna sit the rest of the season.
So go like find one of the running backs that they have on their back end of their roster that could play. I mean, like, I don't know, something like that, or a receiver that you think is a prospect, or
something that's worth like a second. Like,
but it's a start 7. So like,
oh, never mind. Okay, that helps. I didn't read that far.
So
Would you give Hurts for a Rich plus?
That's the part I was focused. I've had a few of those questions.
Like someone asked me that, and I said don't, and it was him. Like, no, I don't really see a reason to do that, especially because, that's right. I asked if like points were the biggest deal in the world, and apparently their first tiebreaker is head-to-head record. That's gross.
Mm-hmm.
But like in that case, especially since points don't always really matter, I would keep Hurts instead of going for A-Rich.
Yeah, he's in the Mahomes Allen tier, but younger. I've said no to every question I've had about A-Rich and Hurts. I'm like, it's so hard to get back in the Hurts tier later when you want to or you need to. Like, I'm just keeping him without, like, it makes sense if you throw 3 first-round picks on top of Richardson, maybe. But, yeah, it's a rough trade. So, yes and then no, I think were our answers. Jazz Fresh. Hello, trades I made this week. Always looking forward to this report. 12-team PPR start 9. Sent Mixon and Pacheco for Pittman on a 24-second.
Brilliant.
No objections.
Brilliant.
Start 10. Kamara, Charbonnet, and a late first for a late 24th.
Try that again.
Kamara and Charbonnet for a first and a third. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
It's a little
I'm surprised you could get a first out of Kamara or Charbonnet, even combined.
Well, that's why like the first and the third kind of makes sense. I feel better with the first and a second, but like whatever.
I've done it for a first straight, probably, but that's me. And that's it. That's all. Okay. Well, I appreciate that, Jazz Fresh. We liked them. Enter the Power 4. Are you buying Dak in Superflex? God damn, that team's
kinda
gonna
try
start
to.
scoring touchdowns. Yes. Broadly, yeah. If I'm not getting into the big tier or the shinier names, Dak's someone I'd rather target over most. Again, that team should be scoring more touchdowns than it is. This week was a bit better. So,
Well, for over the past like 2 or so years, his safety has been the knock on him because that's all he is. He's a floor. There's no ceiling to him. Like we got super excited about one passing and one rushing touchdown. Like Dak is back, everybody. Like that's not great. But like he is absolutely safe. He'll have one or two, like the Cowboys in general have one or two games where they just disappear. But like more or not, like more than not, like he won't lose you a week. He's fine.
I thought I made a mistake. I tracked red zone data, and I had no Dallas data from week 5. And I went and checked, and it's because they didn't get into the 20-yard line. There were no plays recorded in the 20. Damn it!
It's actually very funny.
That was weird. But yeah, I like trading for Dak and Superflex in general. Lakers ex-Commanders, 12-team start, 10 Superflex. PPR traded Richardson and Pittman for A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen, and Mostert. So you're trying to win, and I like it. Yeah, I like that trade a lot. He has Lamar, which is good. Sam Howell. The team doesn't really affect the trade, but you definitely have.
No, because he's asking a question at the end.
Okay, Andrew, 24 seconds. Do I get a better QB or just chill? I think your QBs are fine. Actually.
Sam Howell at the moment is somewhere around QB 13.
Yeah.
Ride it.
Yeah. Last 3 weeks, I think he's been top 12, maybe.
Pretty good.
I could be misremembering it. Yeah, but I don't think that's your main area of concern. I like this trade, though. That was good. Have a good night. I've been working hard on that team. It shows, man. It's a good team. It's Wednesday, my dudes.
It is.
I believe
Josh
that's true.
Peter, the president of the Josh Downs fan club?
We welcome all to the train. You just, we'll remember when you joined.
Bosch and I talked about Josh Downs on Dynasty Wall Street that I just put out today. We are both fans.
Glad people are catching up.
I have a lot of Josh Downs because I had 3rd-round rookie picks, and Peter really liked Josh Downs. And I was like, that's good enough for me.
I still think Pittman's clearly the one. I had to make that note in my column the other week because he's still running more routes. He's older and less sexy, and we know he's got that ceiling. But, I mean, Downs is clearly playing second to him. But he's young. He's good. They can both be in the top 24. That works for me.
Yeah.
Sent Bateman and a 24 third. No, for what?
Bateman
No,
for
Bateman
a 24
for
third.
a third.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. It's time to panic. I mean, there's a reason I played him the way I did. At the moment, it's injuries. We bought in around about the time he was valued at a second. I gave more. That's my mistake. But that's the line I was giving. You want to spend first value without spending a first. Because I think it was the same bet at depreciated value. But the injuries have persisted, and at this point, you've got to expect he's losing momentum in terms of the team's willingness to wait. So, no, it's time to get out if you can get out. But I think we brought in about the best time. It just didn't work out. And hopefully the player can have health and a resurgence at some point in the future, but definitely didn't work out for me. Sent Gibson and Tank Bigsby for McLaurin. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I'd rather have McLaurin. But
yeah, McLaurin's like that unsexy, just perfectly fine top 24. He's better than Dotson by a long shot. Sent Traylon Burks, Tank Bigsby, and Kyron Williams injured before or after the injury for Josh Downs 224 seconds. I like that a lot.
That's
thinking of the future.
Fine.
The Burke thing is still awkward, but I like at this point I like Downs more, so it's fine.
Yeah. There's a lot of that, like, to me, it's you got to cut bait on some of these guys, which stinks.
Yeah.
Like Burks, I like. It's funny you see people kind of riding the fence on Quentin Johnston right now. Holy cow! Like
it's like what I was talking about is trying to get out earlier is better, even if you have some misses. And that's the awkward part about JSN and Burks. I've held Burks for too long. I've held Bateman for too long, but I try to do that very seldom. Normally I'm panic selling.
But like for me, the JSN thing, I like, yes, it's egregious, but it's not like the Quentin Johnston, when Mike Williams goes down and he can't co-opt any targets, like that's pretty damning.
I think I'm reading it just about right at this point. But the thing, there's nuance to all of it. Burks and Bateman, we made excuses on, so we're getting snaps and getting targets when they were getting snaps.
Yeah.
And more importantly, they were all earning routes. Quentin Johnston was a different question for me. He wasn't getting routes. Yeah. The idea that he's not earning targets when Mike Williams going, when it was never on the freaking field. I mean, he's not suddenly earning time on the field. And the difference with JSN, but again, he might end up in the Burks and Bateman camp, is that he has been getting on the field with a lot, like 17% of the routes on average. Had his best week in points last week. He's had better routes weeks. But that's the thing. When we keep making excuses for the players we think can do it, that's why I'm always a little trepidatious about it. It's why I've been questioning you on JSN last few weeks. Like, I don't want out. He's got to week 9 before I really start panicking, but I do want to start being more willing to do it I'm getting out value.
But this was early. But like this was what JSN is doing, and with Metcalf and Lockett healthy is about what
very different than Quentin Johnson.
What I expected JSN to be doing. Like if Lockett was hurt and JSN was still doing what he's doing, it would be a different tune. With Mike Williams out, in theory, if Quentin Johnston was what people, I mean, we liked him, but not like it was like I like him, but I don't like him like him. You know, like he's not my type of player. But in this class, he was that second tier of. It was a pretty obvious second tier of. Yeah, I think he's one of those guys who's worth a. But when Mike Williams goes down and you're looking at Quentin Johnston staying static where he was in terms of routes run and targets, that's not great.
It's not great, but again, it's what a lot of people expected about him because he was a raw prospect. There's always a reason to make an excuse, and that's why I just try and simplify it for myself. Like, look at the breakouts this year. Even Michael Wilson or Josh Downs or Jordan Addison, even when they were doing what JSN was doing right now in terms of having routes, not showing much in the target to grid, they were efficient on their touches and they earned more. JSN's not doing that part, which is the one concerning note. And again, JSN's now bad. He's not Burks or Bateman now, but it keeps me with one cold foot, as it were. One foot still not.
Peter hates JSN. You heard it here.
There you go. I would sell Quentin Johnson a lot quicker than I sell Burks because, again, in their situations, I don't think we're seeing exactly what we should be. JSN's more so, but he's still not doing what all the good ones do. Well, not all the good ones, but like 50 to 60% of the good ones. We'll get to week 9, and then it's about 80% of the good ones. And like you say, we've got an injury or a limited player now. And so if we're making that excuse, we should expect to see a few more targets during that injury, if that is honestly the problem. Yeah.
Right.
Made the trade when Downs was around wide receiver 60. 7 days later, he's wide receiver 40. Here's my problem with someone like Josh Downs. I drafted him a lot wherever I could when it came to where my rookie picks were. He wasn't my target. Addison was. So like I moved my value up and hoped to get Downs when I could. But what am I saying? My problem with someone like Downs or even Addison right now, like I've wanted them since the off season, and I don't make trade offers on them. I assume I would have them if the person who was rostering them wasn't very excited about him. Like Calvin Cow has got Downs in the DLF league, and I haven't sent one offer. And it's not because I don't want Downs; it's because I never think to. I'm like, surely he knows he's good. He drafted him as well. And then it's too late, and everyone's like, I traded for him last week. I seem to get that timing wrong a lot. That's got nothing for you, Genji, or anyone else, but it's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Like when you hire on a player before anyone else likes them, for some reason it's hard to measure or know when the window is for me. I don't know why, but yeah, good job. Genji, I've got Quentin Johnson, and yes, week 6, 6 weeks into I'm trying to sell. Yeah, week 4 was concerning, but week 6 is desperate. What do I do? That's a good question. There are similar types of trades. I'm gonna let Zach. He's normally got a good idea, or for us, on how to package. But I think you're looking for a package, you're looking to get out, not sneakily, but in a subtle way. You're selling the potential upside. He was thinking Tank Dell. So that's the thing. I assume everyone likes Tank Dell now. Is everyone still like low on Tank Dell? Like I don't know.
I mean,
but it's good dynasty investment.
I think a lot of people are still skeptical of Tank Dell because of his size.
Yeah, Marquise Brown, he's too thin. He's too small to play. Devonta Smith, he's too small.
Yeah.
Tutu Atwell should be dead by now, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I mean, but Peter, think about how far perception of players goes toward their value. And I'm not to belabor the point, because we talked about this either last week or the week before, but you were trying to trade Lamar Jackson and not able to get value for Lamar Jackson because people are like, wow, he's a running quarterback and they get hurt and he'll never sustain. Like that's just
I can't. That might be, but I also can't sell Patrick Mahomes in the same league.
Yeah.
I think there's a certain level of value where everyone always thinks there's a better deal. It's the well, there's a fallacy or something. I can't remember what it is, but it's basically the grass is always greener. I don't want to trade you picks and CJ Stroud, who's doing really well, for Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I got CJ Stroud. I'm pretty good. And so you make excuses that I will get something better in another way. Yeah. I know Russ has mentioned this, where it's hard to get value for the elite guys in trades.
Yeah.
You just never feel like you're getting it. It is also a very big part of that.
That might be it. Yeah.
That was and with this Genji, what I would try to do with Quentin Johnston is if I had a running back on my team. Yeah, if I had a running back on my team that is a points player right now who like isn't really sexy, but like giving you points, package that with Quentin Johnston. So they're getting points and they're getting upside, and see if I could get a player that I wanted back.
Who are you targeting? Is it a certain position or is it a certain player?
I mean, for me, it's I'd love to go try to get Addison with that. Like that's the type of trade I'm trying to make with Quentin Johnston is, hey, I missed out on Quentin Johnston in the rookie draft. Addison still hasn't popped yet. Like he's been good, but he hasn't been Justin Jefferson good. So if I could package Quentin Johnston with a running back that I think gets me over the hump for Addison, I'm there. I'm hip. I'm with it. I'm into it.
Saw a poll on Twitter where it was, who would you rather have in Dynasty, Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison? And Zay Flowers had like a 15% lead.
Yeah.
That's not enough. Yeah. By the way, everyone knows the voice. Everyone knows the Dynasty awesomeness, but very few people notice the moves on Zach Reed when he's talking. Sometimes he's got a little wiggle, a little jiggle when he gets excited about an idea. Like, you should watch out for that. I personally am only here to watch the Zach Reed moves. Genji, in my redraft, I have to start one by Damian Williams or Darrell Henderson.
Isn't Darrell Henderson still just on the practice squad?
Yeah, but people are thinking maybe he starts instead of Fella.
Yeah, I forgot who else they signed to the real team.
I think for now it's got to be Williams until, I could look it up.
Zach.
Yes.
Just give him your...
Well, the gelato.
Because at least you're getting gelato, and you don't have to worry about this.
Yeah, so they've got Zach Evans, Royce Freeman, Damian Williams, Darrell Henderson.
Oof. Oh, it was Damian Henderson they signed to the team, and Darrell Henderson. I just forgot that they were the same. It was the same team that did. Yeah, that's gross altogether.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a slightly better decision, I mean, it's still, gelato worthy, but I wrote up Singletary this week. He's gaining ground. I think he's more likely to get a slightly better role in a better situation. And I don't know if everyone's noticed it. Houston's going up by, so it's not going to help your situation. But Damian Pierce has been struggling, as we know he does, and Singletary really took over some of the work last week and did pretty well with it.
So, Peter, because Damian Williams is in Arizona, so what do you have? What do you have for a project? Do you have your projections? I could probably click that. I got the email for Peter's projections, so I could probably pull that up too.
Well, if you're talking about stuff Peter
I think I'm the only one. I think I'm the only. Oh, okay.
I mean, I just really got to go. It just happened to be you guys started talking about smart things.
No, it's okay. It's fine.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Russ. Good luck.
Arizona.
Yeah, that's Damian Williams with Arizona, and Darrell Henderson signed in L.A.
I don't have anything on him yet. I'm still working off last night's projection, so I still have Ingram in the lead. I think it's pretty much going to stay there. Ingram was terrible on it, but he got the volume, so
yeah.
I haven't updated for the rest of the move. I'll do that later. All right, I'll do it tonight. Made a trade in my redraft. Sent Laporta and Rashee Rice for Mark Andrews. I kind of want Laporta over him at this point. I don't mind getting Mark Andrews, but Laporta's pretty much... I don't need to see much more to believe he's going to continue being good in the NFL, if you know what I mean.
Yep, I do.
So the proven you need to see more?
No, I know what you mean.
Oh, okay. I was going to say...
I've been a Laporta guy.
I believe that is true. Yeah. So I think this is... But it's Rashee Rice, who's fine, good. I think I just want Laporta over Andrews, but I get the idea. Flosaurus, 12 teams through flex, 1 PPR, start 10. So Fields for Gibbs. If you're trying to get Gibbs, surely it's more of a win now team, and I think Fields helps you out.
Yeah, I don't want to sell Fields for in a super flex. I do not want to do that.
He's got White, Hunt, A-Chain, who's also injured. Stroud, Russ. In a super flex, okay, I get why you feel like you're a Fields heavy. I think you do better for Fields. Someone that helps your winning potential more than Gibbs, because Gibbs is still, I don't know. Gibbs feels more like a value player than a points player right now. Although if he can get healthy, he's got that backfield to himself right now, unfortunately. Yeah. But yeah, the tone of this trade just seems a little off, but it's fine. It's fine. I get the idea. Traded AJ Brown and Downs for Bijan and Wandell. I think Wandell's really interesting. But Downs and AJ Brown for Bijan Robinson? No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. One side's trying to win, one side's trying to build.
I mean, it looks like they're both trying to win. Like AJ Brown's a top 3 scorer right now in wide receivers. I'm pretty sure I'll check myself, but he's up there. I mean,
if you both need the upside at different positions, I guess it makes sense. But this seems like a lacrosse thing, which is fine. Wandell did well,
top 7
last week. Bijan's probably fine. Yeah. Which side do you prefer? Like in a vacuum, which side do you want? I guess AJ Brown and Downs.
I'd rather, well, because AJ Brown and Bijan to me are very close, and I'd rather have Downs than Wandell Robinson.
Okay, there you go.
But it's close enough that Brandon, I'm not going to beat you up over it either way. Like it's not a bad trade, and getting Bijan, like Bijan is fantastic. Like we can't beat around the bush on that one. He's awesome, but AJ Brown's pretty good too.
Flosaurus got this in the inbox, which is always a nice feeling, and really wants to take Gibbs for Fields. Yeah, do what feels good. To be honest, at the end of the day,
I don't want to do that in a super flex. I think that's selling low on Fields.
I do think you can find. I mean, maybe send some other offers before you hit that.
Fields as a QB2 in super flex is beautiful. It's kind of the same idea as like having that boom bust wide, the wide receiver that can have a ton of points, where like Gabe Davis, like it's like flexing Gabe Davis, having Fields as your QB2 in a super flex league. I love that. The huge upside.
He went ahead and took it anyway, but yeah, sorry.
That's fine. You can do that.
New question, 1 PPR, and then some initials. Gibbs, Hunt, Dubs, Lockett. Is that a start? Who do you start? Who do I start?
One running back, one flex. Gibbs and Lockett for me. Maybe Hunt.
Hunt's really interesting right now. Right now, at this point in the week, I'd be leaning Gibbs and Lockett and hope Gibbs is starting and healthy, and probably Lockett over Dubs no matter what. Towards the end of the week, depending on what happens, Hunt could become that flex, but I think it's Lockett and Gibbs. Yeah. Bob Gilchrist, my team lost that grinding feeling. Whoa!
But you got to sing it, Peter.
I'm not. That was my
Everly
singing.
Brothers.
That was me singing. That's how I sing. James Cook or Wandell? Start sit.
It's probably Cook.
Yeah, and
even though he lost snap share last week, but it was funky.
Yeah,
I listened to you, Peter. I did because Damian Harris got hurt, but
yeah, Latavius Murray's getting that red zone work down there. It's Cook right now, though. Yeah, I think Wandell should grow this week, and it might change it for the future weeks. But right now, it's Cook.
I hope so because I got him on one of my teams. I'd love to trade him.
Love to trade him away.
Yeah. Same with Cooks, honestly. James Cook, anytime he has a big week, I'm like, all right, offers, send it.
Bo Pons, 12 teams who flex 10, start 10, PPR, half point PPR. Tight end premium. I think I'm reading that right. I am 4-2, but 8th in points in all play. That's what's rough. 36 and 31. What direction do I go? If you're genuine, well, your all play says you're more competitive than your record, and so I keep moving in that direction. But again, 70% of teams should always have their eye on value more than anything else. So, your team looks. I mean, you're not top 3. I don't think you're that top 15%. Just keep making good, solid moves. Trade for value, trade for youth. Najee rough this year. Brian Robinson Jr. is just touchdown scorer. Ramondre Stevenson, what's going on over there in Patriot Land? I can't remember.
It's where they're doing what they always do when they have. I mean, they just running back by committee. That's what they do.
Yeah, I like your team a lot, but the reason your all play is so good is it's Amon Ross and Brandon Puka. They've just been killing it. So it's a little top heavy. I'd keep trying to build. Keep trying to move forward, rather. You're not competitive, don't tank. But yeah, your all play is a little skewed.
But like to me, if you can, I don't know, like kick the tires on, like if you can sell Mayfield or you can sell Puka now, like not that again, Puka's great. But if you can get like multiple pieces for Puka, I'd be interested in doing that. If I could sell Brian Robinson, I'd kick the tire. Like I'm not giving them away. You don't need to turn around and tank. You're 4-2. Or if you could package some of those guys and add because you can like maybe build.
Yeah, my first thought in the Superflex is your QB2 isn't as good as Trevor Lawrence. So which of these things do I have to add to Baker or Danny Dimes to get one of those higher tier quarterbacks? That'd be the first thing I'd be experimenting with. Scribbles, thoughts on Kyler's effect on Cardinals skill possessions? Up. I mean, I've actually been pretty impressed with what Arizona's able to do without him, but I think Kyler Murray is better, and therefore I think that's better for the team in general. So, yeah. Trey McBride, he's been a sneaky buy low for years now. He's a tight end, so we stand that. Yeah, last week was his most he's just you love the Sam Laporta's one that make it clear and obvious, or even Kelsey. When it was Kelsey's time, it was very obvious. Yeah, what was it last week? Had the same target share as Zach Ertz, more routes, lower snap share. Zach Ertz seems to be a significant hurdle for Trey McBride. I do think that's where the upside is, though. So Trey McBride could be a sneaky buy low, but right now, just buy Marcus Brown. No one's ever valued Marcus Brown right. They're not valuing Marcus Brown right now, and he's the pinnacle of it. Michael Wilson's interesting. I think he's more of a top 36 long term. But Marcus Brown's always undervalued. He's the older one, so people are less excited. He just had a bad week. Brown's one I'd be trying to explore. But if you can have McBride for the value of a second, without preferably trading a second, yeah. That's I'd go for Marcus Brown though. That'd be my first thought. Aiden O'Connell, Brian Hoyer this week.
Bob, just pick up Anthony Richardson. You'll be fine. Let's see. He did that in the Scott Fish Bowl. No, like I don't know. I don't know. I think they're probably a better team with Hoyer. I'd rather see Aiden O'Connell, but I don't know who Josh McDaniels is going to go with.
Right. I was looking to see who I've got projected in it. I've got Philip Walker playing for Cleveland, if that helps. Go get that guy. Can't find it. I too would rather see Connor. Let's let someone we haven't seen play before play. See if there's more to it.
Yeah, I mean, I take O'Connell, whatever. That's what I would do, but he's on the clock in a weekly draft league. I'd rather have O'Connell. I'd rather start O'Connell. So
Hoyer's projected to play currently in my projections, but O'Connell. We know what Hoyer is. On the clock in region. Oh, okay. Scribbles, I might have to start Tyrod this week. That's the way everyone. This is rock bottom. No, personally, my rock bottom is having to Google every player name in my article to make sure I'm spelling it right. That's my rock bottom right now. But no, Tyrod is fine. He's been. I feel like Tyrod's someone's should have a starting job more regularly. He should be a Jimmy G at this point. He's fine. It's pretty good actually. What is Miles Sanders' value right now? A second, maybe.
Yeah, he's one of those like in a weird like.
Yeah.
Like an early second, like a mid-early second. It's a weird.
I probably want the second too.
Yeah.
But yeah. Is Bajon the new Pitts in London? Bajon Robinson's doing pretty well this year. I know he's like ranked in the teens instead of the top 12, but over the last 2 weeks it's fallen there, but I think it's a team. Bajon Robinson is not going to suffer from the Pitts London forever maybe syndrome. I don't think so. Bajon's been pretty good.
Well, and this
in fantasy as a start.
This past week for that offense was a little bit of an aberration where they both lost and threw the ball 47 times or something like that.
Yeah.
So
he's finished in the top 12 3 times this year and hasn't been outside the top 22 at the running back position as a rookie on a really bad team.
And Bijan still got 8 targets in that game. Like it's he out targeted Kyle Pitts, Cypher. So
all right. So no, definitely better. CeeDee Lamb or Garrett Wilson and Nico Collins. It seems like a you question. I
want Wilson and Collins. Because to me, Wilson and Lamb are very, they're pretty close. And
that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
And you get
Nico's not. Sorry. Karen.
No, like Nico doesn't really factor in, but he's like the throw in and like, hey, I get a lottery ticket and he's been pretty good this year. So why not?
So weird kind of trade because, Wilson isn't going to score Lamb points this year, but Wilson has more upside in the future in terms of points. And Nico Collins balances that side, so you're not even losing much by getting the Wilson Collins side.
No, and the funny thing is, Nico Collins has been scoring Lamb points.
That's what I mean. He's going to score the points while you wait for Wilson. Yeah.
But even Wilson last week, Wilson's still top 24.
Yeah, he had a good week last week.
With Zach Wilson, he's top 24.
That's impressive.
That means he's number 1 with a bullet.
I don't think he can be more impressive than being productive with Zach Wilson, apart from being productive with Kenny Pickett, which is something,
Jordan Addison did that once.
Yeah, no, how? Jeez, that guy must be good. Thinking of sending Hopkins, Condre for Tank Dell and Algier. Yeah, I would. Yeah, sure. Redraft. Oh, redraft. I think I want Hopkins, right?
Yeah. I don't think Hopkins is gonna. I don't think he's scoring you that much, is he? Their offense has just been abysmal.
That's true. Okay. But in
Yeah,
redraft, most of the shine on Tank Dell disappeared.
Yeah, but again, I think it's mostly Algier in that like.
I guess. Yeah, Hopkins was top 8 2 weeks ago, and he's been top 60 every other week, apart from the first week. Yeah, I guess Tank Dell here. Seems like these late pick RBs get thrown into heavy workloads. Yeah, how about that? High capital backs get too many splits because the draft capital of teams. And no, I think that might be a more immediate what you feel is going on right now. I think the NFL operates on splits right now, and sometimes when injuries happen, there's a depleted backfield, so these lower pick players are getting thrown into heavier workloads than you'd expect. But also notice a bunch of them are not new and young and just drafted in the 4th round. It's Alexander Madison. It's guys that are worth rostering just because of the depth of the running back. Yeah. Swift.
Mostert.
Different. Yeah. Mostert's good, no example. Just traded Jacobs for Terry McLaurin and Damian Pierce. Ooh. I think I prefer Jacobs. Didn't like how Jacob looked. Okay, well, that's a tape evaluation I can't help you with. What do you think? I assume Jacobs is going to be the highest value piece here, even in the offseason, because he's one of those young-ish running backs with the top 12 upside. He's been doing pretty well this year. But, on-field performance is going to show up more directly if you're watching and evaluating that way.
He hasn't been bad either. He just hasn't been like last year. He was 300 carries and all the targets. And he's been like running back 10 or 11 this year in PPR. He hasn't been bad. I am with you. I prefer Jacobs mostly because I don't think Damian Pierce has ever been very good. And he's not a player that I'm really interested in rostering. And Terry McLaurin, even though I like him as a player, I don't think there's much value with him. Like he came into the league older, so he had that stigma, and people have written him off. He's past the. So I like rostering McLaurin, but I don't like trading from McLaurin because I feel like that kind of boxes me in. If that makes sense.
It almost make more sense if we like Pierce better, even if he wasn't doing as much, because Pierce could seriously lose more of that work over the next few weeks with Singletary getting more work last week. Again, he could not. But if that was Tank Bigsby, that seems like a slightly different trade because you're betting on a value bump and he's younger. And you know what I mean?
It would be like I would rather have somebody like David Montgomery, assuming he comes back. I would rather have somebody Madison, like that type of Pacheco. Like I don't care, but like Damian Pierce is emphatically not it.
Nick Chubb, a lot more upside there, but he's
I
also
would love
older.
To have Nick Chubb. He's not upside this year, but yep.
But I think the trade's in the right place. I just think we're lower on Damian Pierce, maybe, and so Jacobs kind of wins here. Thoughts on Bryce Young? Still a top 3 QB in this rookie class. I think there's a window on him. I did get offered for Patrick Mahomes 2 firsts and Bryce Young, and I considered it strong because Young's been doing better over the last few weeks. I still liked his rookie profile, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's a small window on him. I think he's doing pretty well for a rookie. He's just not doing what CJ Stroud has done, and but he's also passing pretty well, and we know he's got a good profile. Number 1 overall draft capital. So I think there's a window. I'd be happy to try and buy in and just try not to sell Patrick Mahomes for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ken Walker deserves more respect in fantasy land. Again, we've had this conversation where I think we've told a fairly good line on Walker where we were lower on him when he was like top 5 overall in Dynasty. And then as he fell, because Tank Bigsby, we were like, hey, he's still going to be top 12. Like
Charbonnet, not Bigsby, but yeah.
Charbonnet, sorry, yeah. But I know what you mean. It feels like, but it's because of what his ceiling is. Like if he can't Derrick Henry his way to more memes or more internet noise, hype, then what you've got is a very good player doing a very good job in a very specific role, scoring plenty of points, but it's not, exciting difference-making points in the way, Saquon Barkley and CMC do, and so it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. It's like Michael Pittman at wide receiver. It's not even just a running back thing. It's like a good player doing a role that you can expect, should be more hyped. But I think you find if you try and trade for in most leagues, the person rostering them probably values them appropriately, I think, because they're seeing the weekly results.
So he has had a fantastic season.
Yeah.
In 5 games, he has run for 350 yards. He scored 6 touchdowns. He is still the running back.
That's the cat, yeah.
Like 10. Like he's been amazing. He's been as good as you could possibly hope. He only has 13 targets on the year. Like that's the issue with Kenneth Walker in fantasy. And it's not so when he came up and was like the dynasty running back 3 or 4,
yeah,
that was ridiculous. And that's what we called out. It was nothing against Kenneth Walker. It's not that Kenneth Walker is a bad player. In fact, when he came out in that class, emphatically, we said he was the best runner in that class, but he doesn't hold a sniff to Breece Hall because Breece Hall is a pass catcher. And
this is a good part about, playing the game and not liking him. We like Ken Walker. We thought we understood what he is. So we get to like him and just not like the valuation, if you know what I mean. And so we get to like him when he drops because of Charbonnet, and we get to be a little skittish on him when he hits top 5. Like we're fans of players, man. We're just player fans. Half-point PPR, Superflex for context. I'm second overall right now. Max points 4 is 4th. Sorry, James. Must have been an enter mistake here.
Oh, that was he traded Jacobs for McLaurin and Pierce.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Yeah,
but I think you went backwards a little bit, James.
A little bit. Titans brought Burks back too early. You think it's an injury thing? Bateman. It's tough to. I'm still rooting for the player, but I just compare to what's happened in the past, and we're very shaky. How many times does this happen? Ground again, injuries. He's an actual person with an actual life that doesn't correctly compare to historic. Like history doesn't repeat. So I get to keep rooting for the player while just still trying to play the odds. But hopefully, I'm not blaming the kid. To be real clear, I'm just trying to play an odds game based loosely on the statistics that are loosely based on NFL games. So, but yeah, I'm definitely rooting for the player. A lot of injuries derailed a lot of players. Also, the mismanagement of those injuries has probably derailed a lot of players. Not the kid's fault. It's a good point. Quentin Johnson is getting open. Don't know why. No targets. Makes no sense. Herbert's pretty good. I mean, to be fair, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams there for a while, even Josh Reynolds is fairly significant competition. So if we're going to make excuses, the problem I would say from my point of view is he hasn't been getting open a lot because he hasn't been on the field a lot in terms of just pure route percentage. They're not choosing to get him on the field a lot so that openness that he's producing on his routes apparently can produce enough targets. So yeah, that's my issue. He's just not getting on the field a lot. But again, a lot of people expected him to be a Aurora prospect, and these are actual people that don't actually compare directly to counting the number of times players have done X in fantasy. What do I know? 1 PPR, start Kamara versus Raiders. 3 targets, 2 catches. Commit. Sorry. Yeah, start and commit. He's going to go off when you don't start him, I think is the idea. Or Gerald Everett. Those are 2 great choices, aren't they?
Yeah, not very good. I think probably this year you're starting Komet, but that's gross.
Yeah, it's commit, and you just don't tell anyone about it. Don't admit that. 12-team 1 QB start 9 IDPs as well. 1 to 5. Thinking of flipping Dotson if you can. Best course of action for my team. Pair him with a pick or players to improve position, Or what picks should I try to get? So you've got a second-year player who's done decent things in fantasy, even been startable. He's a young wide receiver, which is a position of choice in most dynasty leagues. What do you try and move him for if you're less of a believer? Do you target a position?
I'm looking at Joseph's roster too, because he's got Bijan, Brees,
Oh, okay.
Kendre Miller, Pittman, Deontay, Dotson, Nico Collins, Downs, Mims, tight ends. But yeah, so this is one of those where I'm going to go with the same position. Like I'm going to try to target a wide receiver with Dotson, so you're probably going to end up having to add a pick or picks.
Do you go older and proven or younger and you prefer? Like, do you go Josh Downs or do you go Keenan Allen?
He's already got Downs, but I would have to look at where he was in the landscape. This looks like a pretty competitive team, so I'm probably trying to get a wide receiver that will put up points, or you could go the other route where you go after somebody like Thielen who's putting up points and then try to get something else back with it that you're interested in. So,
yeah. Where it's competitive team, I am thinking, like Marcus Brown, we were just mentioning. Yep. You had a second.
That's a good one.
Dotson, you can get Marcus Brown. Yeah. Quentin Johnson is a yards after catch beats. Yeah, I do think he's that kind of. No, I thought he was a go get it, do stuff with it kind of a player.
No, he was
the archetype.
Both. He was both, but he doesn't. He didn't really separate like that. Again, we're back into the. And I know I sent you that my write up of him.
I was just thinking whale.
Yeah, but the names in my write up of Quentin Johnston that I started off with were N'Keal Harry, Kevin White, Hakeem Butler, because that's you're looking for that X. You're looking for Julio. You're looking for Calvin Johnson. You're looking for DK Metcalf. And he doesn't quite do the things that those players did. He played from the outside, but he wasn't asked to go make back shoulder catches on the sideline. That was the thing that I loved about T. Higgins. It was the thing that made Mike Williams even palatable because they made those plays, and those are NFL throws. Those are things that are asked of X wide receivers in the NFL at this point. He does a good job with his length, but he struggles to get upfield when he's getting like screens and pop passes. Like he's a good yards after catch guy, but not like a transition to yards after catch guy, if that makes sense. So like if you get him on like a short slant or whatever, like he's pretty good. But that was the same thing we said about N'Keal Harry. I think his strength at the high point is great, but he does let the ball travel in on his body. And so there's just a lot of things that made me nervous about him. And ultimately my evaluation was he relies heavily on big plays and not big volume. And that's a real hard profile to break into the NFL. And like we like the potential, but you also had to understand that what we're seeing was in the realm of possibility. So
yeah, but you didn't like Puka, so clearly that's just all.
I didn't. Puka still runs. He still runs with his arms down. Puka literally I will miss on all of those. It was the Zay Jones, like the guys who pop for 4 days at the Senior Bowl and don't pop anywhere else. I'm gonna miss on those guys, and I will, and I'll buy into Puka. I'll pay to acquire Puka, or I will pivot and acquire somebody else who's producing like Puka that I can get for less because they don't have the hype. But like, I will own being
per
wrong
game per attempt efficiency players all day every day. I had him ranked last, so I'm not calling you out on that one. Pollard and Ingram for a 25 first seems a little low, even for a rebuild. No,
I'd take Ingram in a 25 first for Pollard in a rebuild.
Pollard. For Ingram. I had both of them.
Yeah,
Pollard,
so you're getting
Ingram,
a first for Pollard, and you're getting a tight end. I mean, I would prefer to get a wide receiver.
I read it wrong. Yeah,
like that's but not and Ingram's been a really good tight end again.
Mm-hmm.
But my the way I typically build Alex is I do trade that Pollard for the first round pick, but I also try to get a young wide receiver back. But I don't mind the Ingram in the 25 first either.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine, especially on a rebuild. I would love getting that trade, actually. Thoughts on Pollard rest of the season? Looks like the juice isn't there. I know. With that kind of thing, I usually think that's just results-driven. He's getting the volume. He isn't putting up hyper-efficient points right now. He's one of the players that looks like his volume. He should match his volume by the end of the season, but that doesn't always happen. He's got like top 5 weighted opportunity, plenty of red zone touches, plenty of carries, plenty of targets. So maybe the performance isn't there, but the team itself seems to be struggling. It should be scoring more touchdowns.
He's top, he's RB9 on the season in Superflex.
Yeah. I think he's still start him every week. I'm pretty confident that he's going to get you a top 12 week more often than not in volume alone. But I wasn't a big Pollard guy coming in. It's not like, ooh.
No, and it was
defending his upside.
The cautionary tale on players like Pollard is the guys who are really efficient on smaller sample. So the last couple of years when he wasn't getting 15 or 20 carries, he was really efficient because you could put him in situations where it's 3rd and 8 and the defense is back because they're looking for a pass, and you can hand it off to Pollard and he can get to the outside and get 14 yards, or you're putting him in situations where he can succeed. And now that he is the feature back, you're putting him in every situation, and it doesn't make him bad. It just makes it harder sledding, and so his efficiency numbers are down.
I said he was becoming the tight end 1 last week, Bob, in my column. But Laporta, the tight end 1, I was surprised to see how low ranked he is. Dynasty consensus in Superflex, me and one other person has him in the top 45. I still have him as a tight end 3, though, because I want Kelsey this year, just because, and Andrews and Laporta are kind of the same equation, but they are top 3 for me. We were just talking about, I'd rather have Laporta, but if you're going to give me, if it's one or the other, I guess I'll take Andrews just because I've seen a little bit more, a little bit longer. But I mean, it's very hard to argue with. I'm surprised people aren't higher on him already. A to Z. Oh, $10 went somewhere. Appreciate that, bud. Dynasty 12 team Superflex, start 12 PPR plus bonuses. 3-3 record. He's a rebuild with a 3-3 record. That's pretty good. Traded McLaurin, T. Myers, DeMario, and a 25 first for JJ Zay. Great.
So
that's a great
Jefferson
trade.
And Flowers that's nice.
Yeah, it sucks to lose. Got plenty of good players here, but you package them up and tiered it. Yeah, I like that kind of trade in a rebuild. Yeah, that's good job. Sorry, I don't have much more to add on that. Like Justin Jefferson, always trade from Zay Flowers, a little underrated. I hate liking another Baltimore wide receiver right now, but he's doing fantastic stuff. If it was on another team, I'd have no question.
Yeah, I think that this team now, you got to address quarterback and tight end, and you have a pretty solid squad.
And Fields isn't a great go find those competing teams, and they should want Fields pretty bad.
Yeah.
And maybe someone's missing a QB2 and will stomach pick it. But tear him up, trade him out. What can realistically be done with Mostert? Start him. Or trading to a top 3 team. Do I ride him out or sell? If you're a competitive team, you start him. If you're in the middle in that 70%, I'm going to the 3 teams that I think are the competitive teams, saying, look, that's what some people might call a league winner right now.
Yeah.
And
give me your late first. Yeah.
Downs, Addison, if they have one of those on their roster, maybe they're not starting. You got to check out the rosters to find the best trade, but that's what I'm doing with them. If I am a top 3 team, I'm just pretty happy right now. I'm going to start starting. Yeah. Do we write? Oh, I think we went.
I
I
mean,
don't adjust for schedule that way. His
Yeah.
volume's just going to be good.
that was what I was going to say. Is he may not be the running back 2 for the rest of the season, but he's going to have
Right.
the volume that he's had. He'll be fine. They used him in creative ways. They used him in creative ways in the red zone. So
Honestly, it's been a weekly top 20, easily top 24 guy with a committee. So
yeah,
you know,
top 2.
Zay Jones, not Flowers. Oh, I like that trade a lot less.
Oh, that's way less.
I mean,
So you traded McLaurin, Higgins, Jacoby Myers, and a first for Justin Jefferson.
Myers is fantastic this year as well. So you added a first. Like you needed to keep your first for this trade if that's just Zay Jones. Yeah. That's
but I don't think that gets it done for Jefferson.
Probably.
Do you McLaurin, T. Higgins, and Myers for Jefferson? It's Jefferson.
I mean, those are 3 players we can plug in and start right now. If they're competitive, they should like that.
Yeah.
But it depends on their roster too. I like it a lot less, but getting Jefferson's never a bad thing. To be fair, so I'm not complaining too much.
I probably would have tried to do this with McLaurin, Pickens, Myers, and the first, and keep Higgins. Because I think and even Peter, I heard you say this week, you're starting to come around on Pickens.
A little bit, yeah.
If I can put Pickens in T. Higgins's place, if I can get T. Higgins value for Pickens, I'm going to do that.
That's fair, actually. Yeah, if they're also silly like me and like his volume or whatnot.
I mean, I like Pickens.
You did okay. I think the question here: did you do okay? Yeah, you got Jefferson and
Jefferson
mushed a few great this year players or good players together to get him. You're fine.
It's the T. Higgins hurts, like getting rid of T. Higgins, but making a trade to get Jefferson is going to hurt.
Yeah, that's the part that hurts. But sometimes you got to give things people want. Sometimes I get it. Forgot to say my league was half-point PPR. We already answered that a while ago. That was the one you were breaking down the roster on.
Yeah.
What to do with Dotson? I don't think it changes much of what you said, but it's good to know. Thank you. That'll change their opinion. Vasi, we don't adjust for scoring. Right. Well, we do. We either don't adjust or we adjust pretty hard. And, how many starters in the league size probably has more drastic effect versus PPR and half-point PPR.
Yeah.
But there are some running backs I'll adjust pretty badly for that. Yeah, it is JJ, though. Okay. And no, for sure. Yeah, it was a super mega, except if it was Flowers. Yeah. Fair. Contender, send Jameson Williams for Thielen. Yes. Yeah, I want to start Thielen right now. I'm not sure I ever want to start Williams,
Yeah, I think you can probably get even more for Williams, but maybe just Thielen.
I'm trying to trade for Thielen in my competitive leagues, and people won't give him up, to be fair. There is a change coming, though. Maybe that hurts him. I was looking him up because, I was like looking up Thielen. Perennially way too efficient with touchdowns. So I'm not even concerned that he's like just over 100 yards per touchdown right now, because he's been doing that since like week 4 3 years ago. It's just kind of part of his job. I think Thielen on a competitive roster, if I'm competitive, I'm putting myself in that category. I'm not gonna play scared, So Thielen, I want to start him this week. Gavin Ferguson. Whoops. Great question, Scribbles. We're so far behind. Trevor Lawrence is Danny Dimes without a neck injury. I think Trevor Lawrence is a lot better. But again, I'm not QB evaluating. QB scoring, the ceiling of QB scoring it feels like it's been lower this year. I kind of get what you're feeling. And Trevor Lawrence has been, you haven't been really feeling you're getting all that excitement from last year. I get it. But I actually think Lawrence is just better at the job. And what's the market for...
He's a lot better thrower of the football.
There you go. What's the market value for Godwin to a contender? Their first should be late, so their first should equal Godwin, kind of an equation.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that's what it should be. I don't know are you going to get a first for Godwin?
Maybe not, but that's if
Well,
you
that's
try and get it first, then you're trying to do some of the trades we were talking about before. Like, what can I get? What can we do on Downs? What can we do on Addison? What can we do on
right. I don't know. It's just like that's always to me there's that weird conundrum of the market. So you get, I'd sell him for this, but I'd buy him for this, and then you're trying to figure out what the middle is and see if we can meet there.
I do try and I know what you mean. Again, that's why I try and play what's this team need, what does it want. That balances a trade for me. He's not worth a first. People don't want to give a first, but if you're a competitive team looking for points next week, I think that makes it fair, if you know what I mean. But then it comes down to who they want, what they like, or how they like to play. But that's kind of where my value line is on. It's Chris Godwin. I'm going to be starting him next year if they don't trade for him. So
yeah.
I'm starting Rondell this week. Finally, just everyone has to get hurt, and my Rondell Robinson shares come to life. Yeah, Rondell Moore shares come to life. 6.5 target, 3 rushing attempts the last 2 weeks. Is there life? I think he still has the same role. He's a very talented player who can sometimes do things on it, but until they target him beyond like the worst ADOT of a running back, it's a little hard to believe.
Makes me so
it's
sad.
It's like Curtis Samuel, but better in my opinion, in that he'll do stuff for you occasionally. He's not going to be a regular start, and occasionally there's a week to make you keep believing. But he started.
You're hoping he breaks one of his 3 carries for 50 yards. That's what you're hoping.
He had one in the 20-yard, like make it a touchdown. And then we're rolling. Where do I go from here? I have Hurts, Bryce Young, Breece Hall, Javonte Williams, Dotson, Ayuk, Musgrave, and a few other assets, along with 9 picks next year and 4 firsts. Go trade for Justin Jefferson. Your wide receivers stink, and that's the guy who's injured who's not going to hurt your pick this year, or at least for the next few weeks. So that was my first thought reading through your roster here. Hall's going to become infinitely more tradable over the next few weeks as well, so keep an eye on that, because unless you're trying to compete this year as well, then you're looking to the future. So while I don't want to trade Hall, if he suddenly becomes, you can do a lot with him on your team. But that's where my head's at. Like, I like your running backs. If this was a competitive team, I like your running backs. So can I trade them at some point? And then your wide receivers are like, they're good. They're interesting. Try and get Laporta for Musgrave plus, That's the other thought.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I would be trying to jettison points as much as I could to make my first better. If you've got 9 picks next year, 4 first, so you're reloading in this next draft, which has a top tier of a couple of quarterbacks, and then 3 or 4, maybe
great
wide receivers. Yeah. So that's not a bad place to be. So if I could get out of Dotson, if I could get out of Ayuk for some, somebody that I like that's younger or more picks, I would potentially do that. I think you're right with Musgrave. You're going to need another tight end that's not him.
Javonte Williams came back healthy last week, clearly took over the backfield despite being on lower snaps. If he has a good game this week, can I add Dotson to him and go get I'd do that for Downs, Addison, you clearly know what you're doing though, man. Keep moving in the direction you're going. Is Sam Howell a sell right now? I think he's holdable in Dynasty. I think he's been decent. There are some sack issues that Travis May pointed out last week. They has to clear up. I don't know how well you can clear up sack issues. And where I imagine he's valued in your league, I'm probably holding. But if I'm a building team, I'm also happy to trade away for a pretty good first next year. The
problem is you're getting he's scoring. You're getting points from Sam Howell. The drawback of that is he hasn't been great in real football. You mentioned the sacks, like that's not very good. Like that doesn't
No, it's
bode
bad.
well
It's
for
terrible.
his that doesn't bode well for his career. And sacks are predominantly owned by the quarterback, which
That's why it's a concern.
it's so yeah, like I think he is potentially a sell right now, but the problem becomes what can you get in return for him, because he was not ballyhooed. He was not a first round pick or a second round pick or a third round pick, or like I think he was he a fifth? I can't remember. I have to look it up, but so he doesn't have the hype behind him. So, I mean, I guess you take the temperature of your league, but I'm not expecting to get a haul for Howell. If I can get a first for Howell,
I'm pretty happy to
happy.
sell at that.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're getting it, so I'm holding. Is kind of, but yeah, if you can get it first, Puff Pass Kick. I have said numerous times, and I've written up like it's in black and white that he's playing fantastic this year. Like I like him a lot. He's playing to his situation, which is a compliment. Not every player does, and the good ones do. But I also think he needs that positive situation, which means I think there might be change. I think Stroud's helping him out a lot. But again, a lot of players could have Stroud and still not be performing well. He's doing fantastic this year. And again, I'm starting him every week in one league. I just happen to have him on the bench, and that's a pretty good find for me. I didn't find him. He just happened. I found him on my bench. I'm like, oh, God. Good. I'm glad someone who previously had this team picked him up, because I never would have. Gavin Ferguson, is the wide receiver 1B still a thing? Wanda? I mean, yeah, Wando had a good week. Not Wando, sorry. Waddle had a good week this week, actually, I think. And Devontae. Yeah, QB scoring is down a little bit, and that's where I'm seeing it a lot. The high upside QB 1Bs are suffering from it a little bit. But yeah, it's absolutely still a thing. This is a window to buy into him, if anything. Like, I'd love to buy into Waddle right now, or T, or Devontae. Given the lower scoring, because their roles are still there, the upside's still there. Quarterback's just been struggling a little bit. The offense adjusted for him. That's what happened. Defense, I imagine.
The wide receiver 1B is absolutely still a thing. I mean, Puka's a wide receiver 1B.
Right?
It's a thing.
Manuel Gonzalez. 10 teams who flex tight end premium start 10. I was offered Jacobs for most start. That's a weird trade. We're both contenders. It gets weirder. I have whole Walker mix. It's a dynasty, so I'm Jacobs. But in week-to-week start sit, they're probably pretty even. Again, this is just I don't think there's a separator here outside of Jacobs has more long-term value.
Yeah.
So I'd rather Jacobs.
Yeah, I think the separator is the fact that Mostert has scored a bunch of touchdowns. And
that's what he's
yeah.
That's what he's trying to sell. Yeah, don't go for that. I'd keep Jacobs. How are you all feeling about DJ Moore with Magnet? DJ Moore or Nico Collins? DJ Moore, but he's also, as kind of a sell. I still see him as a talented top 24 wide receiver who really exploited the situation as he should. One particular week, like I don't.
But he's talking about the start, like a start sit this week because Fields is out. So it's probably Nico Collins, because it's like it's been close enough between the two of them anyway.
Well, Houston isn't playing this week, so.
Oh well, so no.
Yeah. I thought I'd check that, but yeah, DJ Moore in Dynasty.
Yeah, I don't know.
CMC or Montgomery and a mid-24 first and second. If I'm building, I don't want Montgomery. Yeah. And if I'm not pure building, then I probably want CMC in this trade. So CMC. Yeah, CMC. I get the idea of the trade, but like have him throw something else in that's not an injured running back. If you're just trying to build, personally. But I guess it's fine. Montgomery's probably worth a second again at some point in the future, but I'd just rather do that. Puff pass kick. PJ Walker, Texas Ranger, or Pajamas Walker? It's a good question. Pajamas Walker. Pajamas is a funnier word. I'm not talking about you guys. Yeah, I know you weren't, Cypher. I just we've only got our own perspective to
But okay.
But I know what you mean.
Hold on. This is my trigger, Peter. He's been pretty good catching passes if given the chance.
Not the point, but yeah. All right.
But that's been it's the Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
For 4 years. Like we had the Nick Chubb conversation. We had the Nick Chubb conversation coming into the league. And I said, love Nick Chubb. He is a fantastic runner. He's probably the best runner in the NFL. But he wasn't given opportunities in the passing game in college. The NFL is not necessarily creative. They draft players to do what they've seen them do. Kenneth Walker is a very good runner of the football. He's not going to be asked to catch passes, or probably not going to be asked to catch passes. He may be. He's perfectly capable of it. Most NFL level athletes are capable of it. Just
not going to be asked.
It's really hard for me to make that logical leap of, oh, well, they've never seen him do it before. They've never asked him to do it before. And now they're gonna do it. So like Walker's really good. He's not one of those top 5 or 6 upside guys. He's like a 6 to 10 or a 5 to 10, which is awesome. Like that's a great player to have.
I think you're running the risk of falling into the only trap there, Cypher, because, respect the player, but realize there's a cap ceiling there, and we will be high and low based on everyone else expecting more or expecting less because they shouldn't do either.
And him he's right now in DLF's ADP, he's running back 11. That's awesome because you got some ceiling there. You got a little bit of meat on the bone. Like I'd take him at that all day. When he was running back 3 or 4, no, thank you. I think he was up to like running back 2 when that class came in. It was Brees and Walker and then CMC, which got a little bit crazy.
Yes, sir. But Cypher, totally respect the player. We're trying to walk a line. Yeah. And it does suck that good players can't get hype, like Joe Mixon has been camped, but continually, like everyone was like, "Oh, he's gonna be the guy," and so people get excited about him. He seems to be a questionable person compared to Walker, So it does suck. We can just enjoy the player. I think that's what you're trying to do, and I appreciate it, man. Yeah, he's definitely good. Definitely worthy of reminding people how good he is at doing what he does. Steelers and Minnesota still don't have a rushing touchdown. Wild. Really? I didn't even notice that one. That's crazy.
Well, the Steelers barely have an offense, so that's not surprising.
Oh, I guess I do know that through my Najee Harris addiction. And that's been rough. That's been rough, gotta say. I still give Mark Andrews a tight end 1 or Brock Bowers. I would rather have Sam Laporta over Brock Bowers, just to be controversial,
Whoa.
Probably is controversial. I don't know. I haven't met the man yet. He's fictional to me.
It will be controversial, Peter. It will be.
I'm sure. I can't wait to be controversial, I guess. I just can't value Kelsey that high. It is difficult, but I value Kelsey like a running back at this point. If I need a tight end because I'm competitive, then Kelsey's the only guy I have eyes for. Like I'll bite that bullet for the league, as it were. But outside of that, I get what you mean. He's still going to be playing next year, though, you're going to remember. Or at least that's the attitude I will keep up until proven otherwise.
Well, and he's such a difference maker too over literally everybody else that you take into account like what he does compared to the rest of the league, and like he's leading the league in total points as a tight end, missed a game. Which means which means he's leading in points per game by like 3.5 points per game.
He is 6.9 points above baseline in that he is 6.9 points above replacement level in the league. That's the baseline of being usable. He is an incredible flex option. The next best at tight end is Mark Andrews, and that's 3.4. He's twice the next best.
Yeah.
That's my attempt at showing it. Zay Jones, sorry guys.
We're also sorry.
Don't be sorry. Zay Jones is always I'm not going to get into it. He's statistically weird. He's constantly overly efficient like that. Yeah. Zay Jones is a fine ad. It's a fine player to always have on your bench, if nothing else, because no one ever values him. So it's not like nothing. As soon as you start liking Pickens, the king returns, Deontay. Yeah, that's the thing. I think Deontay is trending towards starting, and he is going to get targets because he is Deontay Johnson. But I still think, because of the way volume works, Pickens 20% of route share, and his target share is his own. So as Deontay Johnson's here, I think people, and especially because it's freaking Pittsburgh this year, I think there might be, was kind of what I was saying in my article this week, a Pickens window at some point. Not literally right after he finishes as wide receiver 5, but with Deontay's return and Kenny Pickens at the helm, I think people might call on him a little bit. That was really my main point. Richard Davis, crazy day for trades going down. Curious what your thoughts are. 10 teams through flex PPR. JT for 2 firsts. I think that's fair. On a contender. Thielen for a third. I would love to get Thielen for a third.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. What a good trade.
He's probably
bad trade for them.
Yeah, if you can get him for a third, that's awesome.
But that's The second would be a fair trade. I think that's obviously makes sense. Third, you kind of robbed them a little bit. That's awesome.
I like all these. I like these trades.
Kittle and a 25 projected late first for Andrews. Good job, Richard. That is a crazy day.
I like these trades. Like I like getting the 2 first for JT, but I think it's pretty even. The Thielen probably should be a second, but getting him for a third is awesome. And then the Kittle and a late first for Andrews is another get, but I think that benefits both teams too. Like that's Richard, that's a nice league. That's fun.
Yeah. And, apart from the Thielen, it's a little off, but I can get how that guy knows he's not going to get a second for him in the offseason. Maybe no one else was willing to buy in. A third could be fair. Yeah, seriously, appreciate your league. The team's willing to move in the directions that they should be. And honestly, the toughest competitors sometimes won't. And especially by week 6. That seems like an awesome league. Kid Coop, evening, gents, inbox offers. I remember the days I used to get inbox offers. No, I don't. It never happened. 12 teams start 10. Trade away Bryce Young for 2 firsts and a second to the favorite to win this year. He's interested in Bryce Young. That's interesting. So late first. I think Young should be worth 2 mid firsts and a second. 2 late firsts is a little. Did
it say? And a second to the favorite to win this year, so very late first.
Yeah, you're not getting a quarterback with late first round picks in any season. So I think there needs to be more juice in this trade. And it's weird that he wants Bryce Young anyway, so it feels like he's trying to it feels like he's trying to farm team you. Like you took the risk in drafting him and now he's trying to he's good. Okay, I'll give you 2 late seconds. No. You're gonna have to give me more than that, I think.
Yeah, I don't think so. Kid Coop, the first round picks, and this, but they're not created equal. Like the idea, first round picks hit at 50% rate, but it's the top of the first round. The first 4 or 5 picks are exponentially more likely to produce than your later picks, and
especially in a super flex, disproportionately towards running backs and that's the point to keep in mind. Good way of saying it.
So people say, 2 first for Young, which is fair, but if they're late first, then no. The idea is they're mid first with potential to go one way or the other, and if you ended up with the 102 and the 109, that's probably fair. But if you end up with a 109 and the 112, then you're in some trouble.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's the thing to keep in mind. Genji sent Quentin Johnson, Latavius, McLaurin, Damian Williams, just selling all the streamers. 25 third for Dell and a 24 second. I like it a lot. I mean, you're panic selling on Quentin Johnson, which I'm okay with. That's the law in this trade, and they've also got some maybe backup starters and a third. Yeah, I think you've not bamboozled them so much as, you've given them more than enough opportunities to benefit from that trade. And I will take the Tank Dell side, so.
Yeah, that's a mess of stuff for Tank Dell, but you got a second.
I know,
too, so yeah.
It's a lot of stuff to get your head around. Latavius Murray is going to be a starter most weeks. McLaurin, yeah.
McLaughlin, yeah, like whatever.
There's a lot to break down there, but you just go for the, Kid Coop, I have a top 3 pick. I'm sorry to hear that, but also happy. Isn't that Dynasty for you? Have Allen and Stroud. Josh Allen and CJ Stroud. For context, but giving up a franchise QB to roll the dice doesn't feel like enough to me.
No. What you have doesn't change the value of Bryce Young and what you should get back for him. So, like, all of the stuff you have is great, but that doesn't change Bryce Young's value.
I can already hear John Bosch cackling as he hears someone try to explain that to him. You have so many QBs. You don't need another QB. That's what I think he lives for those moments where he explains, I don't care. Like, you still have to pay me. And just because I'm rich, I still earn the same amount of money as anyone else on the trade. I think is the best way to think of it here, man. Again, I don't mind you. I think it's a good opportunity. The guy's interested. He's recognized Young's a little lower than maybe he could be. So it's an opportunity to sell Stroud, but it doesn't mean you have to, not Stroud, Young, but it does not mean you have to abandon him for too late first.
Also an interesting opportunity to go into the league chat and be like, I've got interest in, yes, so I got an offer for Young, potentially interested in shopping him, that sort of thing. Put some feelers out. Sometimes that works. Sometimes you get offers that don't work, but at least it starts the conversation. Yeah.
Something fun to do this week where you're building. You're not, worried about your lineup as much. Yeah, it's worth a try. Richard Davis, 1 of 2, different league, 10-team PPR, tight end premium, trade away Gibson, DJ Moore, and Dubs and Burks, and a 20 seconds, a 24-second. I didn't start with enough breath. I did not know this was going to keep going. 24-second late, 24 thirds early for Kupp and Henry, and he's a contender in that league, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Again, there's a lot in here. But yes,
but there's not much in there. There's a lot in there, but there's not much in there. Like, it's basically DJ Moore and some seconds. No, and a second and thirds. And yeah. You're basically paying you're paying 2 seconds and 2 seconds for each of them.
Yeah, I like this trade a lot. You do really well at throwing a package with interesting but not great things and getting something premium back, frankly, Richard. It seems to work for you. I like this trade a lot. Would you say Addison comp is Devontae Smith? It's more of a
I think Devontae Smith plays bigger at the catch point, which is weird to say for a guy who is 165 pounds. But like, I love I love Addison, and he coming out was my wide receiver 1. I stand by that. I took him in the drafts where I had this opportunity. I took him ahead of JSN and ahead of Gibbs. And I had that kind of conundrum where I had the 104 a couple of different leagues, and I took him ahead of Gibbs and I took him ahead of JSN. They're not quite, and you're never going to get a 1-for-1 cipher. So like, it's not, I don't like to comp players. In fact, I despise that. But like what I do love about Addison is the pace that he plays with. So like he's not necessarily a burner, and I think Smith is probably a little faster than Addison is, but Addison will come out of his route at like 90%, and he'll get to his break and he'll make that quick break, and then all of a sudden he'll hit 100%, and the defender is still like on his heels playing 90%. And it really creates some separation at the stem of his route. I think Addison has decent top end speed, but he's quicker in his route and then faster once he's got the ball. So I enjoy that about him. And again, really good hands, will make plays in traffic, does track the deep ball well. Like I really like him. I think the comparison you're seeing is he is 6 feet tall, 175 pounds. So he is a smaller wide receiver, similar to Devontae Smith. I think Devontae Smith is a little faster. I think Addison is a little quicker. I think Smith is a little better at the catch point, but they're both fantastic. Like I really, really like both of those wide receivers to me are, and this is the comparison, can be a one from the wide receiver 2 position. And so I guess in that way, yes. But like I liked both players coming out. I still like both players. So, but I hate comps.
Fair enough.
I'm like the one film guy who hates comps. The film guys are always like, "Oh, he looks like this guy." I'm like,
That's what I appreciate. That 'cause to me, just non-film guy, I'm like, one player isn't another player. There's something almost not intentionally, but almost a meaning about the idea. Like AJ Brown's out there, like, geez, I'm me. I'm not. Can I just be me?
I know it's easy because you can say that, and people who don't watch a ton of film
get
can
an
go,
immediate reference.
But what I try to do is say, okay, this player does this. Right. These other players did this, and that is part of what makes them successful in the NFL. So I think that part of his, like JSN or Justin Jefferson or Cooper Kupp, they're totally different players. Although Jefferson and Kupp have played the same role because the offensive coordinator moved, but they're totally different players. But the success that they had, and even Juju Smith-Schuster was this way at the beginning of his career when he was playing alongside Antonio Brown. What they do incredibly well that helps them be successful in the NFL is beat zone coverage at like this amazing, like they have a knack for figuring out where the handoffs are in a zone, and they'll get in that seam, and then they'll just be there. And it makes an easy throw. It makes a catch in between players that allows them to gain extra. AJ Brown did the same thing. AJ Brown is nothing like Cooper Kupp, is nothing like Justin Jefferson, is nothing like Juju Smith-Schuster, except for this piece that translates.
Right.
So it's not a comp, but it's a like they do these things.
Nuance. How dare you?
I try. Sorry.
2 of 2. Team is Hurts, Allen, Burrow, Gibbs, Connor Moss, AJ Brown, Chase Waddle. It's pretty good. JSN, Ayuk, Pitts, start 12. I don't see a question.
It was the get Henry and Cup. We like we like that. Yes.
Gavin, Puka might be the only one be considering target share. I disagree, but he is one.
This year, fine, whatever. But like that will not be a thing. Like it's perennially, and I've got
3 or 4 teams every year.
Yeah.
Price check on Mostert. It's really interesting. He's worth something to very competitive teams. He's worth nothing to non-competitive teams.
That's a great trade for him. If you can get Mostert for a late second and third,
That's a good trade. Yeah. And that's kind of where you're stuck, like, because half the league is uninterested, so the value is a little harder to trade. So a second is probably about where I was going to say you want a year out, which, is a little less, but it makes sense on a building roster. Yeah. Trade done. Got Elijah Moore plus a 24 first for Pollard. I think that's, yeah. Let me ask you, okay? I look at Brees and see a massive talent, maybe even better than Bijan Robinson. I think Hall is a massive talent. I assume Bijan Robinson is better. But they were both running back one in their classes for me. It's just that Bijan's profile was a little... You don't see that profile every year. And Brees Hall was very close to it. So, I mean, if that's what you see, I wouldn't quibble it too much. So, yeah, okay. That's fine by me. I'm not going to disagree.
Yeah, well, I mean, those are the two running backs that I am or have been, we've talked about this, confident in having on my roster. Those are the two running backs that I wanted. Those are the two running backs that I would trade for and be confident that they're going to be around and have a role. I still think Bijan is a little bit better. And Cypher, I got my overall pre-draft grades back to 2017. My little document that says for Peter, because he kind of pushed me to do this. But I had Bijan Robinson graded out as my tied for third. So it's Saquon, McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Bijan Robinson are all kind of the same, although probably Bijan is at the top of those three. I mean, if I'm just going to kind of, it probably goes Bijan, Dalvin, Jonathan Taylor. And I really liked Brees Hall, but he was down in that next group of players for me. So, again, not bad, fantastic. They're both awesome. Both players I want to roster. They're both pass catchers. They both
are Dynasty 1 and 2.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. It's close enough that it's part of that conversation of who belongs in the Hall of Fame, who is legitimately the best player. I'm like, I don't know. It's fantasy, so I pass. Great answer on Walker with Chubb. It's an interesting comparison, right? Because everyone loves Chubb. We held him in the top 5 forever, whereas Walker fell out of it pretty quick when the same ceiling rose.
It goes back.
But I do think Chubb is better than Walker, to be clear. But they're both very, very good.
Yeah, but it goes back to the Derrick Henry season, where
that's the stat I was hoping you would roll out. Yeah,
he had the third best season running the football in the history of the NFL, and he finished the RB2 behind Kamara by 60 points.
Fantasy isn't football,
That's it. Fantasy is not reality. And catching the ball, especially in PPR leagues, but even in standard leagues, a target is worth more than a carry. Yeah. Even in standard, but in PPR, it's almost 3 times as much.
The yards are a little easier to gain. That's why. By the way.
Yeah. Well, you get the ball in space,
and you get a reception in PPR, which triples it.
Yeah.
Hey, gents, what would you do to Bryce A-Chain? What would you add to Bryce and A-Chan, right? To get Burrow in a super flex? It's a pretty good offer.
Yeah, you're pretty close.
Throw in some like a second just to make him think.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a first that's looking toward later, that's exciting for the other team because it's a first, but that it's not really a first. If you don't have that, if you're a team that is not competitive and your first is early, then throw in the early second instead of the first and see if you can get it done that way. But you're not that far off. I think Bryce Young is exciting enough and young enough that helps. And then Achan, with what he did at the beginning of the season, that was a big enough splash to be a piece that people are willing to take a bet on. And if the Burrow team is not doing well, because they may not be, because he didn't start off very, very good, that might be enough to get it done. So that's where I'd start, Caleb.
Fantasy Condo, welcome back. Hey, gents, 10 T's who flex start 11, half-point PPR Dynasty. Richardson out for the season. Other quarterbacks are Allen and Goff, which are perfectly good starters, to be fair. And would you trade Jerry Jeudy for Carr?
No.
No. Honestly, I have Carr ranked above Jerry Jeudy. So,
yes.
But I don't think you need to if you really like Jerry Jeudy. But yeah, I would have Carr over Jeudy. So.
Why is Jerry Jeudy so bad, Peter? What happened?
I don't know. I think PFF curses people with their grades. I think you get a good PFF grade and you're done for the season. I don't know.
I abstain from this because I have thoughts.
Okay. Ooh, thoughts. Pickens only had 21% share without Deontay and Fairmouth. You want me to look at the target share? I was specifically thinking about the volume of the team's offense. He's had, since week 1, about 20% of the team's routes, which is top 12 wide receiver worthy. Again, like these rookies who are now doing really well, they start off with around 14 to 17%. And then they maybe get towards 20% when they start doing well. Pickens has been there this season, which I think is pretty good. And you're just waiting in the bad situation. Like the player is good enough to earn the volume, hopefully when the volume can flow because they have a quarterback who can hit them. That's all I'm mentioning. JT trade wasn't for me, but the other two were. Okay, good.
Nice.
Thielen team is tanking hard. Yeah, and again, it makes sense. Like they can't just get rid of him if you can't get anything else.
But a third is still
it's still pretty low.
I'd rather be like, hey, I'll give you Thielen and a third and get a second, or like Thielen and a second and a third and get a first, or something, something like that. But Richard, like, good on you for getting Thielen for a third.
They do have extra motivation to get their points off the team, so technically there's a little extra compensation there for them. But yeah, you kind of you exploited their situation, which is Dynasty.
It's what you do.
Jazz Fresh just made a trade. Oh, well, you're constantly trading, Jazz.
Love it.
12-team tiered PPR Superflex start 9. Sent Godwin, Njoku, Deontay for, I assume, a late 25 first. Well, we got 2 years to find out. 25 second and Conklin. Conklin's kind of interesting ad. That's a lot for a single first, to be honest. And Deontay for a building roster, I get it, but it feels like you didn't get enough.
Yeah,
that's me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I feel like, man, but it's right on the cusp of enough.
Yeah, you can see in a pure building roster, you're not worried about the little nuances of parting these players out. So yeah, it's fine. Obviously, you made it. You tend to make very solid trades, if nothing else. So, yeah, wouldn't expect anything else. Listing while I ride my bike. Okay, that's pretty cool. I used to listen to podcasts while I run, and I don't find the time anymore. It does feel good.
I tried to run yesterday, and then I remembered that I am a baseball player, and if you hit the ball far enough, you don't have to run. And then I remembered that I was a pitcher, and then they didn't let me run. They were like, "Nah, you're not an athlete. You're a pitcher."
Well, I was thinking of like screaming, "Watch out for that car" or something while she was riding a bike, and then I decided, just in case, I don't want to be,
don't do that.
I don't want to. But yeah, keep up those miles. Good job.
I just want to sing bicycle. Wow. The bicycle.
People living healthy, making more trades than me, better trades than me, and putting in exercise. Like, just making me feel bad. But thank you, Cypher. Where are you guys from Dynasty's perspective on T. Higgins? Hard question to answer. I think he's in the tier with CD Lamb. I don't think he's Jefferson, Chase, and
he may even be just like a nit behind CD Lamb. But
yeah, I like that word. Nice.
Yeah.
Actually, Jazz, how do you listen to a YouTube? I assume it's a YouTube or Twitch. Like whenever I try and do that, my Pocket or whatever is constantly pausing or skipping on the video. Like if it's not an actual podcast, it takes some setup to do that. She also says, time to sell Waddle for rebuilds. I probably still hold Waddle.
I still want Waddle.
If his one good week brings back his full value, sure. But I think the market will get better.
Waddle's kind of like what he's doing right now is kind of perfect for rebuilds. Because if you're rebuilding, you have a young wide receiver who you know has top 12 potential, who's not putting up points right now. So he's helping you be bad, but still should be better. Like, you know, there are brighter days ahead. Like I would actively be buying Waddle if I could be even on a rebuild, because he's the type of player I want to build around.
I was going to say not just on builds either. Like I genuinely, I'll send offers on Waddle if I think I can get away with it. It's the type of player I'll either try and move across my tier when someone else thinks they're going up a tier. Like CD Lamb for Waddle for me is even, but if you'll give me something on top, I'll take Waddle. Yeah.
We have a really interesting, because we're in season and it's like points are the thing, and Waddle's not scoring points like people expected. Devontae Smith isn't scoring points like people expected. Garrett Wilson isn't scoring points like people expected. T. Higgins isn't scoring points like people expected. Those players are immediately buys for me if I can get somebody who is mad about them, who I can trade an older player who's producing points or a running back who's producing points. If I can go get those players, I'm actively doing that. Genji. Yep.
Same wavelength. Yeah. To be fair, PFF didn't grade him well his rookie year. I thought he did, but maybe not. He's doing better. I mean, we were just talking about how running backs, for running backs, sometimes fantasy isn't football. And so running backs can be better than their fantasy scoring potential. And there's a little disquiet there. But quite often it goes the opposite way around. Fantasy isn't football. And so something we like doesn't work out because that means you lose the volume, or that means you lose the job. I'm thinking Justin Fields, Blake Bortles are the quarterback examples. And it feels like it's a Judy thing as well. There are some wide receivers who PFF are grading high, and I seem to see a lot of tape grinders constantly talking about how great they are, and it never quite shows up. And maybe it's the quarterbacks. Russell Wilson just outright stinks, it turns out, or has been mediocre at best. And there are some others who just always seem to be better than their fantasy results. And it might be another one of those cases where football isn't fantasy, or vice versa. Richard Davis, curious what you think of this trade. Should I traded Stroud and a late 24 first for Burrow. Stroud and Burrow are about in the same tier for me, so I'll take the pick. Sure. That was part of the team. I'd be very happy to take the pick. That was part of the team listed above. That's cool. Yeah, I like that trade. Yeah. Pick and share those weeks without Deontay and Fairmouth. You're looking at target share. I think his target share has been decent. Again, I mean, it's hard to buy into a Baltimore or a Pittsburgh wide receiver randomly. Pittsburgh has used to be pretty good for this, but yeah, unless you're building, right? I've been trying to avoid buying into the Pittsburgh offense. Again, what I was trying to highlight in my article, column, whatever I call it, is that he just did well. So there's definitely not a window. But I'm looking back over his season's worth of volume. It's actually pretty impressive given his situation and his second career year. And we've seen him be, highlight worthy. He's co-opting a significant share of the volume if there is a lag, because again, Kenny Pickett and Deontay coming back later or in the off season when he does not finish in the top 15, he might be an interesting prospect. Sick Deontay, Jeff. Yeah. I have a clip on my shirt. You mean the rest of the world is hearing this as you bike past it? Well, probably not. It's probably a very small clip. That makes me nervous. Thanks. No, I've tried it. Seriously, I've tried listening to podcasts at work, but lots of them are on YouTube. Lots of my friends do YouTube videos and stuff. I try listening to the Dynasty Dummies for one. It's on YouTube.
Never heard of it.
it never quite works out because it's got to be in my pocket. I'm not leaving it somewhere. And even with a wireless headphone, I just cannot get it. Like, it's always annoyingly turning off or pausing or skipping around. What's the question? No. Who to start? 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 2 flexes. Where's the rest of it? Jefferson, Chase, Lamb.
Bijan, Jacobs, ETN.
Yeah.
You're probably not starting Jefferson.
But you do start Chase, Lamb. Adams or Meyer, almost a coin flip right now.
I'd probably start both of them and Thielen. Like this is one where if it's PPR, you're starting 2 flex. So 2 running backs, 3 wide. Man, this is a good team.
Yeah. It's Chase, Lamb. You start Bijan, you start Deontay, you start ETN. And then
how do
you've got 1 wide receiver, 2 flexes. So
Myers and Thielen. Like, man, which one of those do you sit, Myers or Thielen? Probably Myers, but it's close.
See, Myers and Adams are pretty close to me, volume-wise. They're virtually identical.
They have been.
Myers'
they've
results have been better.
It's been like what, like wide receiver, like 12 and 14 or 12 and 15.
You got a worse quarterback, they can't hit the elite wide receiver. So Myers is just soaking up, and he's very good himself. Don't get me wrong, soaking up those easier completions. I don't think I can. Well, there's a change coming. Thielen or I don't know, man. Flip a coin, get a gelato. You can't really go wrong with these start sits. I would have to punch the names into my projections and just use that as a default. You almost can't make a bad decision here. How's Trey Palmer looking through week 6? Nothing. He's fulfilling all expectations right now. What are your thoughts on Quentin Johnson and Pierce? Damian Pierce, both are on my sell on a rebuilds list. Yeah. Pierce is still, unless Singletary continues to increase, you're probably starting him if you're a contender. But both are on my probably pretty happily trade for value or slightly below value right now.
I would rather have, because the question was offered Higgins, Quentin Johnson, Pierce for Debo, Jacobs, and McLaurin. I would rather have Debo, Jacobs, and McLaurin and make a move with them that doesn't include getting back Quentin Johnston and Pierce. I like getting Higgins back, but the 3 players you're sending, I think, are a lot better in both value and bets. Sorry.
If you weren't 4th in points, I'd just say what Zach said. But I would say, well, I will say that. But if I was more building, then I would say I would take Higgins and try and trade Pierce and Quentin Johnson away for another first, because that's probably easier to get than for Jacobs or McLaurin. But where you're competitive, yeah, it's Debo, Jacobs, McLaurin side. Those guys start. Yeah. Fun fact, this team has Mahomes, Dak, Richardson, and Kyler also. Okay. Whew. Okay, Richard, calm down. PPR. No tight end premium, though. Well, that's a shame.
Russ will be sad. We'll tell him.
We'll let him know. Yeah. He's running more routes after the bye week, at least. I've lost track of who we're talking about.
I think that's Pickens.
No, it's going to be Judy.
Judy?
Trey Palmer. He's talking about Trey Palmer.
I went back and looked up. Judy was PFF's #1 receiver with a bullet in that class.
In his rookie year?
Yeah. Wow. Like in the class, like coming out over CeeDee Lamb. They didn't even mention Justin Jefferson. Just saying.
Genji, I'm just saying, if Palmer, he's a type of wide receiver prospect who I liked on a deeper scale. So if he does anything, I'll immediately be happy to trade him away for what I can get. Like, that's where I'm with Palmer. Odds be damned. 12-team, 1 QB, start 8. Give Gibbs, London, and a 24 first. Get Olave and James Cook. 1 QB, London. I think Olave is the golden goose here, right? So you just want Olave? Yeah. But I don't want James Cook particularly.
I don't want to give up Gibbs and the first with London to get Olave. That seems like a lot.
Yeah, it's too much. So I guess it has to be Gibbs and London side then?
like I would if you took out the first and Cook, or you took out Gibbs and Cook, I think that I would probably do that
for Olave. Yeah,
for Olave, but like
there's a workable trade here, Mike. But so far we're sticking with Gibbs and London in the first. I think.
Yeah,
there's definitely a variable trade there though that we'd happily jump on.
Yeah.
I tried to switch it to tight end premium, but lost the vote. That's because they're tired of you getting your way. Very clearly, Richard's like, no, he's got enough. Don't let him have any more wins.
But Richard, tight end premium doesn't actually do what people think it does. Like it just striates tight end a little bit more, and there are about 6 tight ends who get 100 targets, or 5 tight ends that get 100 targets, and those guys get a bump, and everybody else doesn't. And if you're really sharp and pay attention, you can gain an advantage by getting rid of your QB2 and flexing in a second top 5 tight end, because you can get them later than you can get the quarterbacks, even though they score more than what a QB2. So like tight end premium doesn't do what you think it does, but it does offer other avenues to score points. So like don't be too upset about not getting the premium.
Honestly, it doesn't matter to me. I like talking about these types of players. Oh, me too, Genji. I was just being clearly drawing a line. Like I hope, but if you did something, I'd trade it. That's definitely London in the first. Yeah, I think it's a first or a London too heavy. But I think there's definitely a trade here. Like a lot of low.
Oh man, if you could give up
so much going on there.
I would love to give up Gibbs in the first and get Olave.
Yeah. I mean, you could slice this.
London, and then have London and Olave. Like, yeah, thanks.
There's so many different ways you could mix and match here and get a trade I would love to get. And that's what I mean about there's definitely a workable trade here, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike, we didn't need to go off on 7 different ways you can counter. But like, there's so much potential in this trade. I think you've got the makings of a really good trade for both of you here, and that's I like that. We're at the end. Jazz Fresh. Ever since you said that, I've been thinking purely about me being just a disembodied voice. Because where this is video, I don't think about it like my podcast, where I try and pay attention to be entertaining and not waste dead air, or at least produce some kind of good audio content. I think I'm going to be paranoid about that for the rest of the week now. But I really appreciate you letting us know, and also, checking us out. Same with everyone else. But we have reached the end of the comments. Apart from Genji, who says, any under the radar wide receivers you like where you can move off Quentin Johnson? I think we mentioned them. Not under the radar, because there almost is no under the radar at this point. Everyone's radar is too good. But Josh Downs, Tank Dell, if anyone in the league hasn't realized him yet, trying to trade Jordan Anderson is still the goal of this rookie class, but those two have done wonders for my hope on them this year. And so I'm willing to trade into those guys too. Waddle is also where my head's at, especially after Zach just said that. I remember we mentioned it last week and I made no Waddle offers. And I want to go make some Waddle offers right now. Go get the 1Bs. But when you say under the radar, you're thinking more Trey Palmer. So is there anyone on that list? Wandale Robinson's the only one who stood out in my efficient on significant volume, so could get more volume moving forward list this week. So I'd say Wandale.
What about Marvin Mims? And I know that's not like you said efficient on not much volume. Like he has had not much volume at all, but he's been good with it.
He's like in the Rashee Rice camp for me, where I need to see more volume before I'm really sure. But yeah, I'm somewhat interested in him. Marcus Brown we just mentioned.
Yeah,
but again, that's not under the radar. So the only guy, Robinson also had a pretty decent game, so that's probably not under the radar enough. But yes, Rice, Mims, both pretty good names. Hardman's going to KC right now, which might make people really hate names.
What about Curtis? What about Curtis Samuel? And I know it's not like a bet for value, but he's been actually decent in terms of scoring.
He always is kind of. He's like a Rondell Moore. It's like you can see the potential. You can see the potential.
Like he's
I was going to say Jacoby Myers, but there's no way anyone's confused about that by now, right?
I mean, bias is an interesting thing.
Yeah, it's true. We live off it. No, those are all the names I can think of right now. Sorry, that's the best I got, Genji. I know. I just figured, why not boost my Mark Andrews and
Oh no, I see what you're doing, Richard.
It would sway it in their favor.
In your favor, yeah. Bicycle.
Michael Wilson. I tell you what, if I was higher on Michael Wilson's rookie profile, I'd be talking about him like downs. I wasn't, but he's done very good things this season. So if you like Wilson, yeah, that's probably a name you could add.
And was a 3rd round pick,
Yeah. Samuel's one of those guys, Richard. Rondell Moore too. Turns out. Bateman, no, not Bateman at this point. It's tanking team 2. I tell you what, this is the week to prove or disprove your JSN Jedi belief. Like if JSN's gonna hit, it's gonna be pretty soon, and this is probably the best time to buy him we've had.
Yep.
I mean, it's a very risky bet for a building team. And contending team isn't interested unless he hits, so it's a really difficult team situation to find. But if someone in your league's panicking,
this is where I make that trade. If I'm a contending team,
that's what I mean. If you're a contender, you put him on.
Because all of a sudden I can absorb a little bit of risk.
Yeah,
and if he hits like I think he will,
you've gotten back some of that value and points. Wow, no, that's smart. Yeah, not under the radar either, but I think that's probably the best window right now, outside of like a Kyler Murray window. Right now, he's probably got the best window outside of Marcus Brown or Addison Downs, and we mentioned Waddle as well. So, sorry, we thought we were out, but Olave and JSN or the 102.
I would take Olave and JSN. Even though it's a quarterback, like I still
it's
think
a super flex, but yeah,
I still think I take those two. I mean, it's close. It's probably Drake May, and he's good.
Hey man, if you do that trade,
Drake May.
Okay. If you do that trade, no one can ever say you didn't know about JSN, even though we didn't know, because that's a put your money where your mouth is trade, and I like it. Yeah. Who should I bench this week? Taylor, Gibbs, Drumford, Ford. Probably. If Gibbs is playing, bench Ford. I have JSN too. Stop showing off, Genji. We sure hope so. I can't have another Nico Harry on my on my history. Okay. Thielen for JSN all day. I'm interested in that risk.
Yeah.
JSN team, a contender team trading away Thielen is rough, but that's
he's trading Thielen to a contender for JSN. I would do that absolutely.
That's
Mike
the type
Wilson's
of risk.
Not bad.
No, he's good. He's fine. He's good. But I just think top 36 kind of guy.
Yeah, there are guys with better upside.
But he has done really well. Like, if I liked his profile better, I'd be like, Michael Wilson. Well, I'd be whatever I'm saying about Josh Downs right now. So, just for context, there's my version of a comp. But we're at the end, and you cannot make me lag anymore. Jazz Fresh has got no more comments about me being a disembodied voice, so I can't possibly get distracted.
We made it, Pete. Look over there.